This is CBC Vancouver News.
I think that it's not normal that Canadians need to seek help in other countries to get treatments.
Tonight on CBC Vancouver News, more surgery backlogs leaving British Columbians to flee across the world for pain relief. Also, thousands of Sikhs in BC gather to join the global chorus condemning an internet blackout in India. And two fires ripped through Metro Vancouver, leaving crews stretched and some community members evacuated. Good evening, I'm Zahra Premji. Thanks for joining us. Well, new data shows Canada's healthcare system is still struggling to clear backlogs created during the COVID-19 pandemic. The report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information shows that while the monthly number of scheduled surgeries is nearing pre-pandemic levels, it's still not clear. It's not clear enough for the backlog. As Yasmin Gandam reports, this has some patients traveling overseas to get a surgery.
28-year-old Layla Rahali is an incredibly active person, but that all changed in September of last year when she herniated her disc, unable to shower, sit, or even walk on her own.
It's where you realize that your life completely changed. I'm only 28 years old, and definitely I have a life of an 80-years-old person.
Rahali is planning to travel to France in June to receive a disc replacement, a surgery that will cost her over $21,000 since doctors say she likely won't be able to get the surgery in Canada for another 12 months.
In less than 20 minutes, he replied to my email. We actually scheduled a video call, and less than a day after that, he gave me a date for surgery.
Rahali is one of many on edge. Some orthopedic surgeons say operations that are deemed elective are not given the same urgency.
It's not elective to that patient who's waiting for it. We talk about this benchmark of 6 months, and that only 50% of people are hitting this benchmark. But imagine that was your father, who is waiting in debilitating pain. Is a 6-month benchmark even reasonable?
The data shows catching up has been more challenging for joint replacement surgeries, which are primarily performed in hospital operating rooms, than for cataract surgeries, which can be done in day procedure rooms or community clinics. The particular surgeries that are farther behind are those that are scheduled. They're ones that are non-life-threatening.
Who's still out there waiting? How long are they waiting? And how does it vary from Vancouver to Kelowna to Prince George? And how do we make it so you're not penalized by living in a lower served population?
It's a feeling Rahali knows well. The longer she waits for surgery, she says her nerves can become damaged, and she fears she could face possible paralysis.
I think that it's not normal that Canadians need to seek help in other countries to get treatments.
Dr. Dielwart says it is important for the provinces to collect information on the extent of ongoing surgical backlogs, with more of a focus on wait times rather than retrospective data. She says the government needs to prioritize more funding towards the issue. CBC reached out to the province for comment but did not hear back by deadline. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Vancouver.
India's internet blackout was taken to task by more than 1,000 protesters this afternoon, joining in the chorus of demonstrations happening globally this weekend. Supporters and members of the Sikh community rallied outside the Consulate General of India in Vancouver, protesting against the situation in the Punjab region of India and calling out the government there over its so-called crackdown to arrest prominent voices in the separatist movement, including Amritpal Singh. The hunt has led to statewide internet blackouts, social media blocks, and curfews.
There's a huge problem with the way India behaves as a human rights kind of like nation in and of itself. They're regularly ranked at the lowest level of the Human Rights Index. So it's daunting watching it from here. It's not unexpected, but our job out here is to take that freedom that we have in Canada and at least make our voices heard.
Officials in Punjab have also restricted gatherings in some areas to a maximum of 4 people and set up road checks. Protesters say they're calling on the Canadian government to speak out over the crackdown and say more and they also say more protests are planned for the coming week. Well, several ferry cancellations plague this spring break Saturday again, and BC Ferries says it's because of staffing shortages and ongoing maintenance of ferries. Late last night, BC Ferries announced it was unsuccessful in sourcing replacement crews for multiple trips. As a result, 8 early morning sailings were canceled. The company says it has been challenged with the worldwide mariner shortage, with fewer young people entering the marine sector. BC Ferries has launched what it's calling its biggest recruitment campaign to date and is currently looking to fill 500 casual positions. Well, a busy day for Vancouver fire crews at 2 separate locations today. Well, they started the morning at a fire on East Broadway, a building that was home to a grocery store on the main floor and housing above.
First incoming crews found heavy fire in the basement area. They tried to make entry but were forced out due to the extreme heat, and we had to make it a defensive fire. Unfortunately, due to the age of the construction and the balloon construction type, fire was able to grab a hold of the structure.
Around 45 crew members were on scene for several hours. No one was hurt in the blaze, but some were evacuated, and crews were able to get the fire under control by midday. Now, the second fire started this afternoon at a building on Hastings between Jackson and Princess Streets. No reports of injuries in that fire either, but firefighters say the building is extensively damaged. A cause has not yet been determined in either fire.
Approximately 3:30, there was a report of a fire and a small explosion at the address here on Hastings between Jackson and Princess. When crews arrived, we had flames coming out the front of the building, so they were able to make entry through the rear, but the building at that time was already heavily involved in flames and smoke.
Well, in other news, next week, young BC farmers under the age of 40 will be recognized for being innovative leaders in the agricultural industry. Our Janella Hamilton met some of the nominees of BC's Outstanding Young Farmers program. They say multi-generational farming is key to maintaining food security and sustainability.
It's a family tradition passed down through the generations.
We are the 6th generation dairy farmer.
Johannes and Julaine Truer, along with their 5 children, raise and milk brown Swiss cows in Agassiz, using the milk to produce different types of cheese and dairy products sold on their farm directly to customers.
Dairy farming is hard work, and we've really seen that in the past few years with increased costs. It's hard to get someone new started in dairy farming, so if we are able to one day turn over our farm to our kids, we're going to keep family farming strong in Canada.
Truer says multi-generational farming is vital to maintain food security as British Columbians grapple with inflation, extreme weather events, and strain on the supply chain.
With the Fraser Valley floods, milk that was produced on dairy farms here wasn't able to actually get to the large plants in the city, and the grocery stores were empty. There was no milk on the shelves. But we, even with our small equipment here on the farm, we were actually able to process quite large quantities of milk, and we had lineups out the door and almost to the road.
So you're seeing one of our pens here with some of our black and red Angus.
Travis Hopcott says their shelves also stayed stocked during the floods. He and his 2 siblings are 3rd-generation farmers in Pitt Meadows.
We try to be as much of a circular economy as possible. And so when we receive the animals, we raise them here, we process them here, we retail them as well, and any waste, we are able to actually recycle all of that, compost it, and reintroduce it back onto the field.
Steve Sacomano says the average age of a farmer in Canada is in their mid-50s, and less younger generations are taking an interest in carrying on the family farm.
We want to encourage the next generation of farmers. We've experienced in this past year floods, extreme heat, the heat dome. Our producers have been able to continue to produce through that, and we need that next generation to be involved to continue that cycle.
Truer says with a shortage of land available, prices continue to surge. The province says programs are in place to support new and young farmers, and its agri-stability program helps producers experiencing a large income decline or increased expenses. Truer and Hopcott hope to see more young people stepping in to take over farms to sustain them and maintain them. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Pitt Meadows.
Well, a heads up to transit risers, it could cost you a little more to ride soon. TransLink is expected to approve a 2.3% fare increase for July onwards. Now, next week, its board of directors will vote on whether to hike the prices by the maximum amount allowed. And a one-zone single adult fare would go up by 5 cents, while an adult monthly pass for one zone would increase by $2.35. This comes 2 weeks after the provincial government announced $497 million in funding for TransLink to save their transit system. Now, TransLink made the same increases in 2021 and 2022. The City of New Westminster has opened a new childcare facility in Queensborough.
Childcare spaces are needed all over New Westminster in every neighborhood. New Westminster is one of the fastest growing cities for millennials to move to, and they're raising their kids here in New Westminster. Queensborough is a city is a part of the city we've been really successful at getting family-friendly housing built. That's sort of mid-size of more affordable housing for families. And as a result of that, the need here is even higher.
The new space provides full day care for 37 children. It's operated by Kids Child Care. Their former space at Queensborough Community Centre is being converted to accommodate a licensed school-age care program with up to 25 spaces. Construction is expected to begin this spring. Well, a forensic investigation of BC housing has been completed and is now in the hands of the BC Public Service. Housing Minister Ravi Kahlon says he wants to share as much information as possible based on what the law permits. The audit put on by the Office of the Comptroller General follows an extensive review done last year. Key areas of concern raised include how contracts are awarded to certain low-income housing providers. Meanwhile, BC Liberals are calling for the Premier and the Housing Minister to release the unredacted report to the public immediately, claiming the NDP has given no firm date for making the report public and is already hinting at withholding vital information. Well, if you need an ER tonight and you live in or near Oliver, a reminder the emergency room will be closed overnight. Interior Health says in a release, due to a shortage of doctors, South Okanagan General Hospital will be closed until 8 a.m. tomorrow. Patients needing care can go to Penticton Regional Hospital. Cities brought the lights down tonight as the world marks Earth Hour. Sydney, Australia helped kick off the night, dimming the Opera House and Harbour Bridge. And as nightfall circled the globe, more landmarks darkened. The World Wildlife Fund initiated Earth Hour as a way of drawing attention to energy use and climate change. The first was in 2007. Tonight, people in more than 7,000 cities were expected to take part. Well, a Comox Valley group is rebuilding a rare Hawker Typhoon World War II aircraft engine. The painstaking work began years ago to locate original pieces. Our video producer, Mike MacArthur, went to check out the progress. Have a look.
What we're doing here is an airworthy rebuild of Hawker Typhoon JP-843. The Hawker Typhoon is an aircraft that was flown by 3 dedicated Canadian squadrons during the Second World War, and that being 438, 439, and 440. There was over 3,300 of them built during the war, and there's only one that remains, and it's not airworthy. None have flown since the late 40s, early 50s at best. So we want to put this aircraft together airworthy so people can see and hear it and reminisce and understand what these crews went through during the war. There were actually Typhoons involved with the invasion of Normandy, June 6, 1944, D-Day, Operation Overlord. Typhoons were a major player in that. In approximately 2019, we are well underway with the rebuild of the structure on Hawker Typhoon JP-843, but we're still searching for a Napier Sabre engine that was viable. I approached one of the rare private collectors that owned a Sabre, this one, and I asked him if there's anything that he would do to possibly trade, sell, or would he be willing to donate the engine. That didn't come true, but he, I believe, jokingly said he'll trade the engine for a running Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. We went forward with that, acquired a Rolls-Royce Merlin. It took us just over 3 years of work to build all the systems, overhaul the engine to make it function. So now the process with the airframe and the Napier Sabre is to search through archives, talk to people, search for missing documents, and put as much of that technical information together and dedicate a significant amount of time to being able to reverse engineer and produce the parts that we need to make this aircraft fly again. Everything that we're doing here is being done to airworthy standard. It's all going to be certified, and the goal with this aircraft is to see it fly, to hear the Sabre engine again, and to educate people about the sacrifices these crews made. The day this aircraft flies is going to be unbelievable. I've spent essentially my entire life working to that end. I get excited when we find a document that works for us. To see and hear a Sabre-powered Typhoon fly again is going to be the highlight of my life.
Turning away asylum seekers, advocates say closing Quebec's Roxham Road will have devastating consequences. That story when we return. Search and rescue efforts continue in Mississippi after a tornado killed at least 25 people. Officials also believe people are still trapped underneath the rubble of destroyed buildings.
We don't know where everybody is. We don't know who's alive and who's gone.
The twister ripped through the state overnight. It caused devastation in several rural towns, tearing down trees and power lines and demolishing homes and businesses. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves has declared a state of emergency. Tens of thousands of people were left without power across Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama. More extreme weather is expected as the storm system moves east. Well, as of today, Canada is turning away asylum seekers arriving at unofficial border crossings from the U.S. A deal was announced during Joe Biden's Ottawa visit. Politicians are welcoming the change, but as the CBC's Ithil Musa reports, refugee advocates are warning it will have devastating consequences.
Like thousands of other migrants who've made the trek, this couple and their little girl were trying to cross into Canada Saturday when they heard this.
All right, you're all there.
This is Roxham Road. It connects New York State with the province of Quebec. For years, migrants were able to claim refugee status if they crossed through an unofficial border like this, but not anymore.
The United States and Canada will work together to discourage unlawful border crossings.
A revised Canada-U.S. border deal took effect Saturday that allows Canada to turn back asylum seekers coming from the U.S. at unofficial points of entry.
It's very alarming that people who merely want to seek protection are put in jail and possibly sent back to face renewed harm in their countries.
Another advocate who works with asylum seekers puts it more bluntly.
I think people will die. They will just retort to more desperate measures. So human smuggling or human trafficking will increase.
While some critics say closing Roxham Road to migrants will lead to serious humanitarian issues, politicians on both sides of the border are applauding the move. Although one admits more time would have been appreciated.
I think we needed a little window there to make sure that this could be done in an orderly process. A lot of people coming up here, they don't have Twitter. They don't even know that this happened.
Now a sign has been unveiled warning migrants not to cross, or they'll be arrested or sent back to the United States. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
A gathering in Saskatchewan this weekend is remembering an all too familiar story about a school opened in the 19th century for Métis children and the hardships those children face. What makes the story different is the recognition it has not yet received. Sam Sampson has that story.
An intricate design to help speak a simple, powerful truth.
I know who I am, and I survived residential school. And I survived many, many, many issues that I had to deal with to be where I am today.
Abby Maurice Crook drove for 2 days from Hay River, Northwest Territories to Saskatoon for this, to be with hundreds of others who were forced to go to a boarding school in Isle-Lacrosse.
Just to be acknowledged that I did experience trauma and sexual abuse and being denied a family.
Survivors from across Canada and the U.S. are here to share their stories.
The main conference is happening behind these doors, but there are resources for people if they need. There's a group here that helps Indigenous communities conduct their own research, and the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation is here taking testimony, so these stories are on the record. The Northern Saskatchewan boarding school was run by the Catholic Church and funded by both provincial and federal governments, but it predates the federal Indian residential school system, so survivors haven't been included in any compensation settlements or even recognized as survivors.
Unfortunately, the government of Saskatchewan has not acted up to this date.
Ottawa says the province is holding up progress. Saskatchewan officials say the province did not own or operate the school. There's now a certified class action lawsuit against both governments.
I really appreciate the Premier opening his door to the Métis Nation to be able to discuss issues like the residential school.
Métis Nation Saskatchewan is meeting with the province on this and other issues right now, and with great urgency, because survivors can't wait.
People are dying. Like this is how it is. People are dying. We lost another 2, I think, this past week.
The conference lasts the weekend, and these survivors hope their stories last forever. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
This coverage can be upsetting and invite painful memories and feelings. If you or someone you care about is looking for support, you can reach the National Residential School Crisis Line at 1-866-925-4419. It operates 24 hours and is available for survivors, intergenerational survivors, and their loved ones. All right, look at those clouds moving in. Here's a cloudy time lapse of downtown Vancouver and the clouds rolling right through. I'll have your full forecast coming up next. All right, so let's take a look at what's happening in the world of weather, because I know I'm always wondering how to prepare for the week ahead. So first off, let's take a look at what's happening right now. Current temperatures sitting at about 3 degrees in West Vancouver, 4 degrees at the airport, Pitt Meadows 3 degrees as well. Looks like it's a balmy 1 degree on the island over in Nanaimo. So despite the sun we've seen throughout the day, it's been pretty cool out there. All right, so let's take a look at what's happening in the world of weather, because I know I'm always wondering how to prepare for the week ahead. So first off, let's take a look at what's happening right now. Current temperatures sitting at about 3 degrees in West Vancouver, 4 degrees at the airport, Pitt Meadows 3 degrees as well. Looks like it's a balmy 1 degree on the island over in Nanaimo. So despite the sun we've seen throughout the day, it's been pretty cool out there. Now let's take a look at what's going to happen for tomorrow. Doesn't look like it's going to warm up too much. Prince George looks like it's sitting at about 7 degrees. Victoria, you may almost be the winner, but you do have a bit of rain over there, sitting at 9. Kelowna looks like it's the winner, sitting at 11 degrees. So if you want a hot spot in BC, that's probably where you want to head over to. Cranbrook's looking like it's sitting at 8, Port Hardy 8, Prince Rupert 8 as well. Now let's take a look at that 5-day forecast, moving into the 7-day forecast. So of course, the rain, my favorite, is sticking around for Sunday and Monday, with a little mix in for snow as well on Sunday, but still sitting at about a high of 8 and 10 degrees Sunday, Monday. But then those stray showers drift away, and it looks like it's going to warm up with sunshine for the rest of the week. 10 degrees Tuesday, Wednesday 14, 12 on Thursday, Friday 12, and then dipping back to 11 for Saturday. But hey, if you look at those lows sitting over there, it doesn't look like it's going to be too warm at night. So keep the jacket handy. Do not let the daytime sunshine deceive you. And that's what we have for our weather. All right, and that's your late news for this Saturday night. Thanks so much for taking time out of your night to spend it here with us. And hey, have you ever wondered who puts this show together? Let's thank our whole team behind the scenes, around the scenes. Thank you to them, and thank you to you for sticking around with us. Head over to our website before your head hits that pillow. It is cbc.ca/BC. Check out our latest headlines on there, and have a good night.